Are Aston Villa in a title race? I can't quite believe I'm saying those words, but here we are. I was having all kinds of wild dreams last night, but let's take it one step at a time. And what an amazing comeback performance that was from Unsustainable FC, as they like to call us. Stick that one up your XG table. 4 goals all inside the box. They said we couldn't sustain it. Oh, here we go. There's 4 goals inside the box for you. But what a performance, what a comeback, and a really inspired 3 points last night. And it was an absolute crazy 90-plus minutes, wasn't it? So we're going to get into all the action, all the talking points, still just riding high this morning. I feel tired. I only watched it at home, and I feel tired from watching it. I was up and down my seat so much. It was just proper edge of the seat action, especially when you thought we were dead and buried in the first half. But what a comeback, just absolutely massive. And that man, Ollie Watkins, getting 2 goals, that just might be the most important thing that happened last night. Could that just get him going again? Could be that fire him back up? I know he's been struggling with that knee injury that Unai Emery spoke about a couple of days ago, but could that get him ticking again? Because I tell you what, if it does, that's one hell of a player that Villa will have unleashed that we've been missing all season. That could be absolutely huge for Aston Villa, but we'll get into that. Let's start with the lineups, and of course there was a little bit of action in the warm-up yet again for our man Emiliano Martinez, who I think has been good in recent weeks. I know there's been the odd mistake, but I think he's made some unbelievable saves. A couple against Wolves, one against Leeds at the end, and against Bournemouth, that penalty save and that one that looped over. I do think he's been better than people have probably given credit for, but it won't help with the conspiracy theorists. With Emi Martinez last night pulling out in that warm-up. People will be questioning his mentality, his commitment to the cause. I don't really buy it. I think it was, they did say what it was. Was it a hamstring? I don't think it was his calf, because it was his calf previously, but I don't think that was the case this time. And yeah, of course, it was Marco Bizot that had to step up last minute. He probably only knew 10, 15 minutes before the game, so it's really difficult to come in cold as a goalkeeper like that. Obviously, goalkeepers, whenever they do come in, generally is cold. They're not going to play week in, week out. However, there's a difference between being told the night before in the morning, Marco, you're going to be playing tonight, and being told literally 10, 15 minutes before. But he's dealt with it before. He did it against Feyenoord, and he had to do it again last evening, didn't he? And look, it started off very shaky for him, didn't it, with that error from the corner, which was never a corner, let's be honest. It was a shocking decision from the officials last night. Again, I think is it Andy Madley that was the official last night? Obviously, his linesman will have to take fault for that as well, but poor officiating again. We've seen it in a matter of days, haven't we? We'll get into the decisions from last night. We'll try and go in a little bit of order. But yeah, it was never a corner, was it? It came off the Brighton player last. I think Cash flicked it on. It came off the Brighton player quite clearly as well. I don't really understand why we can't go to VAR for those kind of decisions. I'm not saying anyone has to go over to a monitor for that. Just a quick note in the earpiece, just from those in Stockley Park or wherever they are nowadays. Just tell him, look, that was a goal kick. It's clear as day. There's no debate over it. I don't understand why we have to be so closed-minded or formal in our decisions. Just a little bit of common sense would prevail sometimes. And at the end of the day, you can talk about clear and obvious. That's a clear and obvious error that's led to a goal. So, yeah, Marco Bizot didn't cover himself in glory with that either. It was a dreadful goal, wasn't it? Again, similar to that one against Leeds, really. It was like initially shouldn't have even stood. Goalkeeping error and just a scrappy finish. It looked like it went off a couple of arms. I think it was Morgan Rogers' arm. It only came off in the end, though. And into the back of the net it went from Van Hecker, who got himself 2 goals last night. But yeah, very fortunate circumstances that Brighton got both their goals, really. And, to be honest, a lot of people were critical when I was watching live at the time. And I was saying, I wasn't saying that we were playing particularly well in that first half, but Brighton were very fortunate. I don't think they were great. I thought they were very fortunate with their goals. But we'll get into that. We'll carry on with the lineup for now. So obviously Bizot stepped in. Ian Maatsen, which I did mention, I did think would potentially start this one a couple of days ago, and I was really pleased to see him start. And I thought he was okay. I've seen mixed reviews on Ian Maatsen, but I thought he offered us something going forward. Obviously got himself an assist as well, which I think that's what he can offer you. Luca Dean obviously offers you assists too, but from that deeper crossing position. He likes to cross first time, doesn't he, Luca Dean? Whereas Ian Maatsen likes to get down that byline, get a ball across, which he did for Ollie Watkins' goal. So I thought he was decent. Pau Torres and obviously Ezri Konsa is always going to be the centre-back partnership. They were okay. Obviously, Pau Torres with the own goal, which again was another, just unbelievable goal to concede, really. I wouldn't say it was really his fault. I think the Hinshaw Wood, whoever it was, that drove forward, I can't believe he didn't shoot. He absolutely bottled that shot, didn't he? And then he had the cheek to kind of give it to the Villa fans a little bit, mate. I'd have been embarrassed if I'd have scored that goal, because he's bottled it trying to Judas it across goal. And it was a simple finish for him, really, but he's tried to pass it across and just got very lucky that it's got off Pau Torres' foot and into the back of the net. Very, very fortunate from him. So, Brighton got their 2-goal advantage in very fortuitous circumstances, and for me, didn't deserve it. That wasn't because Villa were playing well, but just 2 very, very fortunate goals. Reminds me a little bit of that Frank Lampard video from a few years ago when he was at Everton, when he was like conceded from a poor goal, then another poor goal. Always reminds me of that when I go on those kind of little rants. But yeah, the centre-backs defended well, particularly in the second half, although probably won't be best pleased with themselves, shipping 3 goals. Matty Cash was in there. Thought he had a good performance. Kamara and Onana in midfield. So Youri Tielemans dropped out. I think Youri Tielemans just managing his load, managing his minutes, really. Obviously, he hasn't been back fit for too long. So, 3 games this week, 390s, probably asking a lot of Youri Tielemans. So it makes sense to rotate him out, especially when you've got a player like Amadou Onana to come in, who, had a big, big impact in the game yesterday. And I think he's getting better by the week, and he's becoming quite a crucial player, and he's becoming a very hard player to leave out as well. So will he play on Saturday? I do think he could potentially be the fall guy, and that would be very, very unfair on him, really, but that just shows the options Villa have got. And now Ross Barkley has dropped out. You almost don't notice it, and that's not to be harsh on Ross Barkley, but Villa have got so much depth in those midfield positions, and Onana with his goal, with that crown celebration, which we love to see, and his antics at the end, which we absolutely love, don't we, post-game, when he puts the 3 points in his pocket. We love that. Yeah, he's a good character, and I think he's a fan favourite because he just really gets on board, and, you can see he loves it, can't you? So, fair play to him. He partnered Bouba Kamara, who was okay. Not his best performance, but was okay. As always, you're always going to get at least a 7 out of 10 from Bouba Kamara. And then that forward line, which consisted of Rodgers, Gesson, McGinn, and Ollie Watkins, and Evan Gesson. I thought he had a poor first half, but I thought he really come into it second half, to be fair to him. I was very critical of him in the first half. I thought he was poor. Could have latched on to that goal that Watkins scored. It was like both of them were queuing up for that goal. It was the kind of goal or opening that both of them needed, and Watkins just got there first. And to be honest, if I wanted one of them to score, it was obviously going to be Ollie Watkins, because he's the man that we need to get firing again. And he did get onto the end of it, but it was, either of them looked like they were both threw themselves out, desperate to get themselves a goal and get themselves firing again. But I was impressed with Gesson in the second half. I thought he was good. He worked hard, which you do always get with Gesson. It's never a want of trying. He just looks like he lacks a little bit of quality, but we did see a bit more of it in the second half, and it was a little bit more of an inspiring performance to give you some hope that there's something in there with Gesson. I thought his contribution to the 4th goal as well, with the header. I'm going a bit all over the place as usual, just bouncing off the walls this morning with excitement, so a little bit all over the place. But yeah, that header, which was a good header, to be fair. It was a good save by Verbruggen. I've seen some Brighton fans being like, oh, what a crap or terrible goal to concede this is, but to be fair, Verbruggen pulled off a really good save from the header, and if that had gone in, I don't think anyone would have been saying that it was a poor goal. So he had a big impact really in that goal, and obviously Marlon mopped it up with his first touch. I don't know how long I've been on the pitch for, less than a minute, but yeah, that's what Donyell Marlon does, and he's a huge impact sub, isn't he? But yeah, and it was obviously McGinn. Didn't have his best performance either, but he was ratting around as usual. Again, like Kamara, you're always kind of going to get at least a 7 out of 10 from him. And Morgan Rodgers, I thought Morgan Rodgers was good. I know Watkins will get the plaudits and probably the man of the match, which, he deserves with 2 goals, especially with the run he's been on, the Barron run. But I did think Morgan Rodgers probably went a little bit under the radar, and I thought it was a really good performance from him. That assist as well, which I don't know if any of you guys were watching on Sky like I was. That assist was fantastic, but the cameras cut away, didn't they? It was really bizarre actually how the cameras cut away. I think it was showing showing what should have been a penalty, the handball. We'll get into that as well, but it was a fantastic ball from Rodgers, and actually reminded me of the assist he got at the Amex at Brighton back in April. That ball he played over for Rashford. he played over the defence, over the top, which Rashford latched onto the end of and put away. And it was very similar up the other end of the pitch this time. Morgan Rogers put that ball over for Watkins to latch onto this time, and he finished it wonderfully this time, didn't he? And that was the confidence back in. I probably wouldn't have backed him to score if he hadn't have already got on the score sheet. But that was a great finish over the top, one-on-one, get his touch out, bang, lace, bottom corner. That's what we became accustomed to seeing Ollie Watkins do, particularly in the year we finished fourth a couple of years ago, and that was the type of finish we were used to, and he looked a lot more ruthless, and that kind of ruthless streak looked like it was backing him a little bit yesterday, after he did miss quite a big chance just before Brighton went 2 up, so you thought his head was going to fall down even more, but it didn't. Fair play to him, he stood up and he more than made up for it. But yeah, I thought that pass from Rodgers was really good, and I thought he went on some really good runs, some really good touches again, and I think he's just excelling as a player. Can pretty much play anywhere across that front line, and yeah, I thought he was really good yesterday. So yeah, really impressed with him. So that was the lineup anyway. We've gone into the game as well a bit there, of course, as well. But yeah, a couple of decisions, wasn't there, which we've just mentioned. Obviously, the chance we had to level it up when I think Conser, did he hit the bar, and as it come off the bar, it struck a Brighton player's arm, which, you know, it should have been a penalty, shouldn't it? It really should have been a penalty, I think. I'm not quite sure how they haven't given that. The Villa players were fuming at first. I can't say I really noticed it at first. I thought they were calling for it to be over the line, but then they were still protesting. I thought, well, if they're still protesting, they can't be moaning about the goal line technology, because, well, we can't moan about the goal line technology. There'll be a few people get upset if we start complaining about that. But it definitely wasn't over the line, obviously, but it did come off the Brighton player's arm, and it should have been a penalty, really, and that's one of two penalties Villa should have had. There was one on Maatsen. I know you could say it's soft. It did look soft, but there was contact, and you see penalties for those in the box all the time, especially if it was someone like Harry Kane or Bruno Fernandes. That would definitely be a penalty. So that should have been one too. But luckily it didn't cost us in the end, and Villa scored seconds after the handball penalty shout, didn't we? Which is why the Sky cameras had cut away, but yeah, it could have been frustrating on another night. There's 3 decisions there that have gone against Villa, really, and yeah, we're not always going to be on the right. We'll always get away with them, really. So hopefully that does swing back in our favour, because some of the refereeing decisions have been honking in recent weeks, especially when you think about that Leeds one that should have been offside too. I thought the ref against Wolves was shocking, and last night wasn't much better, was he? But it was, listen, less about that, and it was about Villa's performance and fight back yesterday. And it was really full of character. To go 2 down at a place like Brighton, the last team to have won at the Amex was Villa back in April, so it's a tough place to go. They're a good side, really strong side. I think you could see that in spells yesterday, but Villa really fought back well. And like I said, I don't think Brighton were worthy of their 2-goal advantage. Very fluky, lucky goals. Villa's goals were better, and obviously we spoke about the first 2 goals, but the 2 goals in the second half to go and take the victory from a corner. So Matty Cash took the corner, didn't he? And it was a great delivery towards that back post, and Amadou Onana, which is what he offers you from set pieces, which, to be honest, I don't think our defenders or the midfielders do offer us that in the box, really. Ezri Konsa scored from a couple, but generally with his feet. But Amadou Onana does offer you that, doesn't he? Similar to that one he scored on his debut against West Ham, with his head, and he's done it a few times, and he does offer you that aerial threat in the box, and he got onto it on the back post and put it away, and loved the celebrations. The limbs in that away end looked insane. Very jealous of whoever was down there last night, although don't envy your trip back. Done that trip down to Brighton a few times, and that is one long journey. So fair play to the Villa fans that went down last night, because you could hear them all game. They were brilliant, so loud, really, really good. So fair play if you went down and got behind the boys. Where was I there? Yeah, and then obviously the 4th goal as well. So Unai made the subs, and Donyell Marlon does what Donyell Marlon does. And to be honest, you almost think, is he that super sub? Should he be starting games? We've all been calling for him to start games. I've been calling for him to start games. I think in the Europa League it probably suits him, but he feels like a bit of a super sub in the Premier League, and whenever he comes on, he seems to score. So maybe that's a little bit unfair on him, but he is kind of your trump card, isn't he? Daniel Marley is a nice option to have off the bench, especially against more weary, tired legs. He's so sharp, his energy, and he's a good finisher. I don't think that was his best finish last night. It was a bit more fortuitous than anything the way it dropped to him. Didn't get the cleanest strike on it, did it? But it did end up in the back of the net. I thought Onana might have got his toe to it, but he let it go in, and Daniel Marlon took the acclaim, and again sparking wild limbs in that away end, which looked absolutely brilliant. And that was it then for Villa, wasn't it? You think that's the game? I started with the title chance, getting a bit ahead of myself. Obviously, it's a bit of fun when we talk about the title charge. We'll have to be do probably, if we're still in the mix come March time, that's when we can start to get a bit more excited in terms of that. But we'll see, one step at a time. But yeah, from that point when Villa went 4-2 up, you think that's the day done, don't you? You think that's the win. Villa aren't going to throw it away from here, and we didn't, fortunately, but we did make it. Nervy in true Villa way. It was never going to be that easy, was it? Coming from 2 down, it was always going to be made nervy in those dying minutes, and it was that man again, Van Hecke, with his second goal of the day. It was a much better finish this time from him on the edge of the box, and past Marco Bizot, and into the back of the net it went. And to be honest, it felt like a lifetime was left. I think it was about the 82nd or 83rd minute. It felt like there was a lifetime left, didn't it? And Brighton started to chuck everything at us. Villa coped pretty well, didn't concede too many chances, but there was one very big chance from Danny Welbeck, wasn't it? Grandad Danny Welbeck. I think it was was it a loop ball into the box or a deflected shot? I'm not sure, can't quite remember what it was, but that header, I thought it might have been offside, but it wasn't offside. I think Cash was playing him on. And the save from Marco Bizot was a match-winning save. I mean, he more than made up for his error in the first few minutes, which I think we can afford him anyway, for the reasons I spoke about. But wow, that is a match-winning save. Unbelievable save to claw that one out and rescue and save those extra 2 points for Villa, really. It was brilliant, and I'm so pleased for him, because we all love Marco Bizot, don't we? We just, when we saw that Martinez dropped out, you have that initial fear, like, oh God, no. But then you remember it's Marco Bizot, not Robin Olsen, bless him. I don't like to keep having a go at Robin Olsen, but you've got a much better quality goalkeeper in there. I do think he'd get start for a lot of Premier League sides. I think there's probably a lot of Prem clubs that are looking at thinking, wow, how have we not noticed this guy, and how have Villa picked him up for next to nothing as their backup goalkeeper? You look at the sides like Wolves and various other Premier League sides. Marco Bizot clears their goalkeepers, and we're very fortunate to have him as our second choice, and I wish we'd have got him in a couple of years ago. But yeah, Villa clung on in the end, and I don't think there was really any more chance. It was that Danny Welbeck chance, wasn't it, was the really dangerous one. But yeah, you look at the bench as well, and like I say, Unai did have the opportunity to kind of rotate a touch, didn't he, and almost give a few a rest for Saturday, which is what we'll get on to now as well, with a huge game. But Unai did have the opportunity to rest Yuri Tillemans, Luca Dean, who will definitely start on Saturday. I'm sure both of them will start, and obviously Daniel Marlon, Buendia in there as well. Bogard come in and put a shift on too. Jadon Sancho didn't get any minutes. Andres Garcia back on the bench. And a word for the young lad, Ronnie Hollingshead, who was on the bench as well, one of the young goalkeepers. So I'm sure that was a great experience for him. Unexpected to be on the bench last night, so fair play to him. But yeah, quick word on Unai Emery as well, who must have got in 20,000 steps up and down that touchline last night, and he was going mental, and he's absolutely steeped in the cause. He's so passionate, and it's just what we love to see him. It's what we're so accustomed to seeing with Unai Emery. He's a cool, calm customer, but sometimes he does lose his rag, and he certainly did yesterday, didn't he? I thought it was hilarious when he chucked his coat off, almost Tim Sherwood-esque, back in the day, and he couldn't quite figure out how to put it back on, could he, through the excitement? But that was quite funny. He's given us a good meme there, hasn't he? But yeah, Unai Emery, what a man. What a legend, and hopefully he's here forever. Absolutely love the bloke. Quick look at the stats as well before we move on to the Arsenal game. So Brighton did have majority of the possession with 56%. We had 14 shots to their 16, 10 on target to Brighton's 7, 6 big chances to Brighton's 3. So 6 big chances, but only an XG of 2.41. So figure that one out again. Hate the XG, like I said, but there you go. Shove that up your XG table. Anyway, another 3 points on the board for the mighty Villa boys, and what a run we are on. But we'll have a look at the Arsenal game now, which is absolutely massive game, isn't it, on Saturday? Absolutely huge early kickoff at Villa Park, a rare Saturday game. Can't remember the last time we played on Saturday, but that'll be nice. Early kickoff again, can always throw up a bit of a surprise, but would it be a surprise to see Villa beat Arsenal? No, I do think they're going to be coming shivering a little bit. I think they're not going to be relishing or looking forward to this one at Villa Park. It's a tough place to come to. Only Crystal Palace can seem to beat us there, but Arsenal, listen, it's going to be tough. We're going to dress it up as the title decider, aren't we? Of course, have a bit of fun with it, but it's going to be a tough game. Look, Arsenal are one hell of a side. They've slipped up a little bit recently, got themselves a 2-0 win yesterday against Brentford, who scored in that, Saka and Mikel Merino. But just looking at their lineup, because they've been struggling with a few injuries recently. Gabriel and Saliba have both been out, which would be massive if them two are remaining out on Saturday. Obviously, two of the best centre-backs in the world, never mind league. But Mosquera and Hincapi played last night. Ben White back in there. Declan Rice, I did hear, went off with an injury, so fingers crossed if he's out too. I do feel like this is probably a good time to play Arsenal, as good a time as there will be. Because listen, Arsenal, at the worst of times, is always going to be a big test. But bring them on. I really can't wait for it. These are the games we live for, aren't they? Absolutely huge game that we've set up here. And Villa have got more than enough to get something. I'd still probably take a draw against a side like Arsenal, but we do have a good opportunity in this run of fixtures for Villa. And again, like we've said, this is a tough month for Villa, but we've already passed the first tough test with flying colours, and we play Arsenal twice this month, don't we? So, you know, it's a 6-point gap. We imagine if we beat them twice, anything would be possible. But listen, it is a tough test, and after Arsenal, we've got West Ham away, which is a game you would fancy. A lot of pressure on West Ham down there in the relegation spots. So it's a game you'd fancy 3 points. Man U at home. Man U are a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde side, aren't they? But again, it's a game I would fancy at home. I know our record against them is stinky, but you know, we've got to beat them at some point, and we definitely owe them one anyway, that's for sure, after last season. Chelsea away, which will be tough, but again, they faltered losing to Leeds last night, which was a huge result for us, which meant we leapfrogged them and went up to third in the league. And then Arsenal at the last game of the year away, which again, of course, is always going to be a tough test. But yeah, looking at the table now, it makes very, very pretty reading at the minute, doesn't it? Third place. Again, I'll say it every time I come on. We didn't score for 4 games. We didn't win in our first 5. We give everyone a massive head start, a 5-game head start. And here we are in third place, 27 points, 8 wins from 14. Just 6 points off the leaders and 1 point off Man City in second. Creating a little bit of a buffer now between us and 5th. I think that's 4 points now between us and Crystal Palace. So not much of a gap. It is very tight, very congested. If you go all the way down to Man U in 9th, who are on 21 points. Liverpool on 22 points. Newcastle and Tottenham both on 19. Their side you probably expect to be up and around it come the end of the season potentially. But if Villa can just give themselves that breathing room, because listen, I know we talk about the title and have a bit of fun with that, but the real goal this season is to get into that top 4 or 5, whatever seals Champions League. For me, is what would be seen as a massive achievement, and it's very realistic. Obviously, we want to win the Europa League too, but it would be one hell of an achievement to seal Champions League football any which way, wouldn't it, this year? Especially with how it started and the window we had, signing next to no one really other than Evan Gesson. So what Unai Emery has done has been absolutely incredible, really. But just can't wait for this game on Saturday now against Arsenal. It's going to be absolutely huge. Villa Park has to be rocking. We have to do our bit, get behind them. Early kickoff. I feel like that game should have been like the 5:30, really. But listen, 12:30, we'll take it. And bring them on. Can't wait for it. So if you've got this far, guys, thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment below. Only place you can leave it. And as always, we'll end it with a big up the Villa.